No spin, no bias, no censorship. I'm Dan Wootton. This is Outspoken episode number 336 and breaking right now. The UK deep state and MSM's embarrassing bid to convince the world that Tommy Robinson is a far-right terrorist rather than a patriot has descended into farce, with the verdict delayed by weeks after a massive police presence at court.
I'm either going to be a convicted terrorist or not. That is insane, though. Say that out loud. I'm going to be a convicted terrorist because I'm a journalist. You want me as a statistic, you want me as a number, and you want me as a figure, as they're doing with so many referrals now in preventing schools in education of right-wing politics. So then when they come out, they'll say a huge rise in far-right extremism. All they asked me about was my political beliefs. All they asked me about. So they didn't ask me about anything to do with violence, terrorism. In the end, they threw in something about far-right extremism. They didn't ask me anything about that. They just asked me about my legal, lawful, legitimate political beliefs. Grateful for everyone who supported me. I'm grateful for Elon Musk for giving me the opportunity to have my King's Counsel in there. So Carson Kay, my solicitor firm, and the King's Counsel, Alistair Williamson, was unbelievable. He absolutely tore those three police officers a new arsehole.
But today's farcical scenes even included independent journalists being dragged out of court by security.
Ezra Levine is being pulled out of the court. What? Pulled out of the court by a security officer.
They dragged him out. I was sitting in there, and the judge had said Ezra, after fighting, recognised, because he had to recognise that he is a legitimate journalist that's come from Canada. Then, when the judge went out of the back room, the staff come in and said to Ezra, "You need to get out of here."
And then a security guard came in, though, sort of a mall cop, not a real cop, and started putting hands on me. And listen, he weighs like 60% of what I weigh. I don't think he could have pulled me out of there,
But all this trial has done is show how Slippery Starmer and the corrupted police are losing control of the message as Elon Musk proudly funds Tommy's case, and the regime media is humiliated for attempting to cancel citizen reporters who have exposed the reality of this show trial.
What did you think of the fact? What did you think of the fact?
It's contempt to talk about a court case.
No, it's not. No, it's not. There's no jury. That's only for juries. There's not contempt. That's a lie. That's a lie. No.
I'll expose a shocking day for British justice in my digest next as we hear directly from Tommy. Then we'll be live with the superstar panel. Lunn Farrow of the Insider YouTube channel, who has been embedded with Tommy over the past 2 days. Cox of Advance UK, who has been in court to witness the trial for himself. And independent media sensation Hanna Kirkpatrick of Hanna's World. Also coming up on the show today, the UK's flag wars explode as a Labour left campaign begins to tear down the Union Jack and St George's Cross, as Nigel Farage's death threat Afghani is jailed for 5 years and Labour is blamed for the beating up of Reform's youngest council boss George Finch on the streets. Slippery Starmer's humiliation now complete, as I can reveal one of the leaders Trump secretly despises is the UK Prime Minister, who he humiliated in front of the world in that viral clip. And we're going to call out an Islam bid to rewrite English history. Also coming up in the uncancelled after show on Substack today, the MSM trumpeting Meghan Markle 3.0 after her facelift and decision to beg Balenciaga for an invite. But in reality, she's regressed to being a Soho House girl again after calling the Paps for her meeting with Ed Sheeran and a cringeworthy Instagram boast post. So our Royal Mastermind, Angela Levin, she's going to be on Substack after the main show. You can sign up to watch at www.outspoken.live. We'll be revealing a new Greatest Britain and Union Jackass at the end of the show too. The Union Jackass, all down to you. Get voting in the live chat on Substack. Here are your nominees today. Sadiq Khan, nominated by It's Only Me 44, who says, "Sad IQ Khan," I like that, for insisting the pro-Palestine slogan from the river to the sea is not inherently anti-Semitic. Slippery Starmer, nominated by Abba Ghost for showing up in the Middle East when he was not a good or even a bit player in this process and actually rewarded the terrorists. And Bridget Phillipson, nominated by John Quinlan for claiming that the UK government had anything at all to do with the peace in Gaza. 3 Labour nominees today. Who are you going to go for? Get voting. Let me know your comments throughout the show. I will read the best before we go, so do stick with us today. Let's go. Justice has not been served. Tommy Robinson's terror trial descended into farce at Westminster Magistrates Court today, with a surely inevitable not guilty verdict delayed by 2 weeks as police turned up en masse, despite not the slightest hint of any trouble, and independent journalists being dragged from the courtroom after complaints from the shameful British bashing corporation for showing them up. The past 48 hours really has exposed the corrupt British deep state, including the police, the judiciary, and the MSM, for the stitch-up merchants they are. Tommy Robinson is on trial for being Tommy Robinson. He literally did nothing wrong when the police pulled him over in his mate's Bentley on the way to Spain. With cash, yes, because he is debanked in this country thanks to the ludicrous cancel culture the elite class embrace. But as he told Outspoken's Lunn Farrow today, this is all part of an establishment plan to create an invisible far right in the UK.
He said, well, the posing and current risk from the far right. What are you talking about? I've never been far right. I've never been arrested under hate speech or racism. There's nothing like that on me. But you want me as a statistic, you want me as a number, and you want me as a figure, as they're doing with so many referrals now in preventing schools in education of right-wing politics. So then when they come out, they'll say a huge rise in far-right extremism. Whereas really it's just bullshit targeting by police officers for nothing, really, which is what we're seeing.
I mean, it is a win-win, though, in the way that the world's eyes are on you. Elon is paying for your legal fees. We can see how clearly this is being weaponised and distorted.
Everyone knows I'm not a terrorist, so they've just messed up again. Everyone knows I'm not a terrorist. So yeah, the world is watching, and I'm grateful that the world is watching. I'm grateful for the people's comments of support. They put me on trial to put you on trial. So they target me because I speak up, and they don't want anyone speaking up, so they try and set an example.
Now, the MSM has been completely shameful over the past 48 hours by distorting what really happened in court in order to play the Tommy is a bogeyman card yet again. Just look at how the Daily Mail posted newly released footage from the CPS in the past hour. As Tommy reacted, so the corrupt legacy media inevitably ran with corrupt authorities' narrative that it was okay to pull me over as a potential terrorist because I was driving my mate's Bentley. The shudders in the establishment as a working class man drove a Bentley. The sinister background music too by the pathetic Daily Mail. Now, speaking of pathetic, Ed Davey has been desperately rage-baiting Elon Musk over his decision to fund Tommy's legal bid entirely, posting on his X platform, "Is this you bankrolling far-right extremism on Britain's streets, Elon Musk?" Again, let me repeat to the stupid folk at the back, and no one is more stupid than Ed Davey, deriding ordinary folk who peacefully spent the most beautiful day together at Unite the Kingdom as far-right extremists is exactly why there needs to be a revolution at Westminster. But after proceedings finished, Tommy also challenged the Reform UK leader, who used the terror charge to justify his decision to distance himself.
No, Tommy Robinson's been right about many things. He's just not the company that I choose to keep. You know, and even after that, we got, oh, Robinson's been arrested using terrorism laws, isn't there? And then we discover, no, actually, he wasn't arrested in London. He was arrested at the port of Dover, and it's something to do with a passport issue. And, you know, listen, he has had some things very right over the years. It's just, he's not for me.
Well, after the court case, Tommy Robinson asked Nigel Farage directly, "Would you like to correct this yet, as I literally sit in court on trumped-up terrorism charges?" Prompting Lawrence Fox to weigh in, "I feel for people who think Farage is different in any way from what we have already. He's one of them. In many ways, he's worse because he's pretending he's not. He has his eye on the one prize he's sought his whole life, damn anyone who gets in his way." What has become abundantly clear to me in the past 2 days is that this case should never have gone to court. It is a disgrace that it did. Indeed, last night, Tommy was confident he will not be locked up again after the police admitted unlawful behaviour while in the dock.
Court today, what happened, we sat and we watched police officer after police officer accept and admit on the dock and on oath that their actions were unlawful. So let's see what happens tomorrow. I don't see where they've got anywhere to go, but it is me. Yeah, I'm confident after today. I wasn't confident before this that I needed a prison bag. I'm confident I do not need a prison bag, even if the judge finds a way of somehow justifying their actions. They can't send me to jail when you heard the evidence today, which played out, thankfully. So anyway, yeah, been an entertaining day, a tired day. I just want to get it over and done with tomorrow, get the verdict, hopefully get the win, and crack on.
And of course, they know that, and they want to keep this pain going, which is why there was no verdict. But on the way to court this morning, Tommy explained, and this is important, this is critical, why he bought the ticket and was on his own in the Bentley, which he fully admitted wasn't his own car.
Anyone who knows me as well, I don't book anything, do I? So no. I message them, book this, do this, because I don't go online and do anything. I just drive places. So if I was getting a ticket for something, because that's all it was. I drove to the port. There's a little thing you go to, and you buy your ticket. That's not suspicious, is it? How's that suspicious?
Yeah, it's not.
And then you're driving on your own. I'm always on my own.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I was actually delivering a car, and they didn't mention the car again. It wasn't my car. I had the logbook, had the owner on the phone, ready to talk to them. They didn't want to talk to him. Didn't want to look at the logbook. They didn't care about the car. It was all nonsense. So they said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm just delivering this car to south of Spain and coming back in 2 days."
One of the other things I witnessed yesterday that I was shocked by in the courtroom, we saw your confrontation, which is very famous now because it's all over Twitter, with the reporter from the BBC, Daniel Sanford. Now, one of the things the public may not know is that myself, Ezra Levant, and the rest of us, we were sitting directly behind Daniel Sanford and some of the rest of the left-wing media. We saw them scrolling our Twitter. They scrolled my Twitter, they scrolled Ezra's Twitter, they scrolled yours. And then we saw them, after scrolling our Twitters and seeing that we were tweeting there.
They said that I was tweeting, because my solicitor came over to me and said, "Look, someone's reported that you're sitting in here tweeting because there's tweets going off of your feed." I said, "But I'm not tweeting, that's other people tweeting. I ain't picked my phone up." So that's him. Yeah,
we saw him, after they scrolled, we saw him get up and go to the court clerk and the prosecutor and tell him that the rest of us, other journalists, were live tweeting. Now, how is that any semblance? And in a democracy, one of the defining characteristics of a democracy is a free press. How does that make you feel to see the press in your country now telling on other journalists so they can't report other citizen journalists?
They've done it for a specific reason. That if you read the reporting, which I've read now, the reporting of the mainstream media, they haven't highlighted any of the unlawful things the police done, any of the real outrageous things, like they made the decision within 30 seconds to detain me under the Terrorism Act. They're meant to question you. So, which he says he questioned me in his statement, but then when you see on camera, it's 30 seconds. Yeah. So he just asked me where I'm going. So there was nothing suspicious. He said he acted suspiciously. How can I act suspiciously? He asked me one question. Yeah. But then they don't want the public to get any of the information that you, Ezra, or other citizen journalists were putting out there, which is embarrassing for the police and embarrassing for counter-terrorism and embarrassing for the government. So they want to control the narrative. So how do they do that? They shut everyone else up. And the judge played his part in that by shutting everyone up.
And this is honestly so shocking. And I really think we need to think about this more, because what Tommy Robinson is saying, and having followed the trial very closely over the past 2 days, it's correct, is that the MSM will not report what happens in court cases accurately and fairly if it goes against their narrative. And at the same time, the MSM are working to exclude independent journalists, which we'll come to shortly, meaning that the narrative isn't heard by anyone. One example of that, and Tommy pointed this out when he arrived at court today, was the fact that on the stand, PC Farrow was about to faint because he got caught out lying.
And it was unbelievable how bad the police were yesterday. How what they've said in their statement was different, how they got tripped up so much, and not one single report on it. But the man needed a break. He needed to take water. He was about a faint. The officer was about to faint because he got caught out lying. Yeah. And it was so blatant he got caught out lying. He got tripped up and he got made to look like the liar he was. And it was so blatant why I was detained. I was detained because I'm Tommy Robinson, because of my political belief, not because of anything to do with terrorism. Now that's not right. And they, all the media, should be as alarmed as we are, but they're not. They never are. They don't give a shit. It's a club. It's a club, and we're not in it.
No, we're not in it. But trust me, I have been, and you don't want to be part of it. This is the real world. But for the UK police, it's much easier to pretend Tommy Robinson is the problem, rather than Islamist terrorists flooding the country illegally on a daily basis. So they follow him everywhere he goes, even to breakfast.
Look who decided to come to breakfast with us. Hilarious.
And it was very clear the police were looking for trouble at court today.
So, Dan, I'm outside Westminster Magistrate Court, where I have counted 21 police, okay? I'm going to send you the other video. But this is what our tax money is paying for. This performative bullshit, yet again, and we know that women and children are at risk all throughout the country, and instead of the police doing the right thing and being put on jobs that actually would help and protect the country, oh no, there is 21 different officers outside this court. Do they all know something we don't about today's verdict? Here we go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 that side, and then let's go 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Do they know something we don't? 21 cops outside the police.
But they would have been disappointed that the biggest drama came from this patriot unfurling his Union Jack flag. That was it. But it's no wonder, given the police presence, that Tommy was led to believe that he could be sent to jail today.
So did the other BBC journalist as well?
Is he in there?
Yeah, he's gone in.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised, bro.
So, Tommy, we're now live.
Yeah.
And how are you feeling today, sir?
I feel all right. Yeah, I feel all right. Look, until I pulled up and saw 6 meat wagons full of police officers around the side, and then I thought, do they know something we don't, and my bag gets sent to jail? And they've got security ready. So, but after seeing it play out yesterday so blatantly, after seeing the officer accept, whilst on the stand, on oath, that the detainment was unlawful, he admitted it was unlawful. So, but then seeing the mainstream media totally admit all these things from their reporting yesterday, so much happened in that court yesterday that none of them have reported. And then what the judge done is he prevented any citizen journalists, i.e. Ezra and others that have come to report, he prevented them telling the truth of what was going on inside the courtroom. So they want the only narrative for you to get, the public, is the BBC, Sky News fucking narrative.
And Tommy again stressed that he does deserve journalistic protection because what he had on his phone related to corrupt police.
And I'm either going to be a convicted terrorist or not. That is insane, though. Say that out loud. I'm going to be a convicted terrorist because I'm a journalist. If I wasn't a journalist, I'd understand their argument. But because I'm a journalist, and we've had statements from survivors of rape who have said they don't want the police to have the information that they give me, for a good reason, because in Telford, in Rotherham, in Rochdale, in all these cities, the police were working with Islamic rape gangs. They were hiding evidence. That's what was happening. So I'm not going to give them access to my source of information. I'm not going to let them know who tells me information about them. Remember, in our Rape of Britain series, one of the episodes, we outed a corrupt police officer. So I don't want them to know who gives me information.
No, of course.
Yeah.
Now, of course, there should have been a verdict today. There should have been a verdict today. It's an inevitable not guilty verdict, but what didn't they want? They didn't want Tommy Robinson being able to pose outside the court today, say not guilty just before his state visit to Israel. So the judge delayed the decision for a fortnight, causing the activists to be naturally livid.
We're on.
Verdict is the 4th of November, so back to court. Which again is more fees, because they just said now we're going to have another bill for another day in court. It's just insane, isn't it? Another bill for another day in court. We heard all the evidence, there was no evidence, yeah? So they arrested me under terrorism legislation, which is where they're meant to find out if I'm a terrorist. All they asked me about was my political beliefs. All they asked me about. So they didn't ask me about anything to do with violence, terrorism. In the end, they threw in something about far-right extremism. They didn't ask me anything about that. They just asked me about my legal, lawful, legitimate political beliefs, which is what this was about. This was about detaining me because I'm Tommy Robinson and because I'm outspoken on subjects such as Islam. You heard it from the final officer, Islamophobia. So what even is Islamophobia? What, you can't have an opinion of Islam without getting detained under the Terrorism Act now in Great Britain? But that's it. So I'm 4th November, which is a good thing because it means I get to go on a state visit to Israel tomorrow to form friendships and allegiances with a government that actually understands Islamic jihad and doesn't just understand them. Would stand in the face and fight them rather than bow and pander to them, because unfortunately this government bows and panders to Islamic jihad.
Now, one of the most shocking sideshows in court today was how the British Bashing Corporation, via its establishment shill reporter Daniel Sanford, a long-time Tommy hater, attempted to shut down independent journalists from reporting on the case, including the brilliant Rebel News founder Ezra Levant. Sanford has been unable to hide his disdain for Tommy for many years. Indeed, his only post about the trial yesterday read, in a video recorded on his way to court, Stephen Yaxley Lennon, so he uses his formal name rather than Tommy Robinson, said, "Thankfully, I haven't had to beg for donations today because Elon Musk has picked up the legal bill for this absolute state persecution." That prompted brilliant replies like Donald Rachel saying, "Better than fleecing the taxpayer so you can swan around Broadcasting House with your fellow champagne socialists as you do." Or the nutty professor who said, "Will you be calling Zach Polanski by his real name?" Well, how about Amy Mack? "You're not a journalist, you're a reputational assassin. Weak, spineless and cowardly. You ran from the camera after smearing Tommy, then hid like a little bitch boy." Don Keith, who had been in court, did confirm that Sanford had worked to silence his citizen journalist rivals, writing, "It was wild, bro. We watched that BBC reporter literally walk up to the court clerk and prosecutor and tell them about citizen journalists reporting, and they immediately shut us all down. They wanted to control the only narrative, but it didn't work." And you'll remember after court yesterday, Tommy had had enough and turned the cameras on Daniel Sanford.
You remember the press, you was in there today. Can I ask you, what did you think of the fact? What did you think of the fact?
It's contempt to talk about a court case.
No, it's not. No, it's not. There's no jury. That's only for juries. There's not contempt. That's a lie. That's a lie. No, you're a member of the press.
I can't discuss.
Well, I've looked at your reporting today. I've looked at your reporting. Today. Yeah? Why don't you tell the truth? Why don't you tell the truth about what happened in court today? Why don't you tell the truth? Why don't you tell the truth? You see, that's the media. Where's Wendell? Wendell's behind you. Cowards! That's the mainstream media, yeah? He is sat in that court case. We'll see what verdict we get tomorrow. Not one of them has reported any of the unlawful stuff the police have done. And then do you know what? He went to the judge. He went to the judge to make sure Ezra would stop reporting. He did. He went as a member of the press to point out that he's sitting in the public gallery and he's reporting on this case. To prevent him reporting so that the only narrative you get is from them. Farce car, cash in his car. Why do I have cash in the car? Because we collected it at a demonstration the day before and I can't bank in the UK, you mucks. Anyway.
Now, before he arrived in court this morning, Tommy continued his war with the BBC mouthpiece, writing, "This is why Daniel Sanford wanted to stop Ezra Levant from posting live updates from court yesterday. He's a smarmy, censorious, fake news smear merchant and retarded ideologue." Watch.
Ezra's a machine.
And apparently over 8 million people have seen his tweets, which far exceeds the BBC.
That is why they didn't want him tweeting. Yeah, because they lost total control. They've always had control with the mainstream media. They've always had control. They've lost control.
And they have lost control. But today in court, there was the ludicrous spectacle of Ezra Levant, who had travelled from Canada because he doesn't believe the UK MSM will accurately report what happened in the trial, being violently dragged from the courtroom by security because he continued to live tweet, even though he had asked the judge for permission. Brother Wendell of Urban Scoop witnessed the extraordinary scene for himself.
See Tommy on the left-hand side behind the glass, but just in front of me, Ezra Levine is being pulled out of the court. What? Pulled out of the court by a security officer. And the security officer is saying to Ezra Levine, he's got to leave. But Ezra is saying, I have accreditation and the judge has permitted me to be in here. But it looks like what has transpired is that the fake journalists from the BBC and all of those people, they're in the court, but the spaces have now been taken and there's no room for Ezra. So he's now been kicked out, he's now gone.
It was absolutely insane. Tommy confirmed what had happened and said it meant there is now a war against citizen journalism by the British state.
They dragged him out. I was sitting in there, and the judge had said Ezra, after fighting, recognised, because he had to recognise that he is a legitimate journalist that's come from Canada. Then, when the judge went out of the back room, the staff come in and said to Ezra, "You need to get out of here." And he said, well, the judge, I heard you saying, well, the judge has just said I can stay in here. Nope, you need to leave. Then they brought security in to forcefully eject.
And I was there.
You saw it, yeah.
I was there.
Okay, I was sitting in the dock to forcefully eject you from court. Mad. As I said, there's a war against citizen journalism by the state.
It was shocking to me. I mean, the judge gave me the green light, and then the staff wouldn't have it. They were
and they done it when the judge was out in the back. Right. So we don't know if the judge was on side or not.
We don't know. You're right. Very strange.
So the judge may have gone out the back and forcefully had you removed. We don't know.
And that's only 1% of what you face here all the time. Not even 1%.
So, I mean, thank God for Elon Musk, who, along with Donald Trump, has returned the concept of free speech to big tech.
You know, the judge asked me to go easy on the cops and the prosecutors. That's what he asked me to. But he didn't. I was going to say he didn't ask anyone to go easy on you. It's sort of normal that you defame Tommy in your mainstream coverage.
Or didn't pick up on any of the lies they told either, or the way they twisted stories. Yeah. But yeah, I'm grateful for everyone who supported me. I'm grateful for Elon Musk for giving me the opportunity to have my King's Counsel in there. So Carson Kay, my solicitor firm, and the King's Counsel, Alistair Williamson, was unbelievable. He absolutely tore those 3 police officers a new arsehole.
And I have to say, one of the joys has been Tommy taking on the MSM outside of court, including ABC in the US.
You think they should have access to as a journalist? What's your answer? You're a journalist.
I would not want a journalist to have access to their phone.
So you supported me today?
Not necessarily.
Why don't you support me today then? I'm a journalist, and they detain me under terrorism legislation to get access to my mobile phone to see who I talk to and what my sources of information are. So you just said you wouldn't support that.
I'm a journalist.
So do you think that's right?
I'm covering the story.
Okay, so do you think that's right?
I'm just here in the middle, as it were.
But you don't think it's right?
I'm in the middle.
No, you come on, you're a journalist. Do you think it's right that under terrorism legislation they detained me as a journalist? You're going to hear it all in court if you actually listen and report what they say in court, under no suspicion of any crime. So there's no crime. Give us your passwords to your phone and let us see every single thing on your phone and download it onto our system. There's no crime. Do you think they should be able to do that? Do you think the state should be able to do that?
I don't think the state...
So thanks, so you support me on a not guilty verdict today. You don't be a loose job, do you?
You want to take that? You want to take that?
It's not that hard to support.
I mean, that was done with good humour, unlike the toe-to-toe with Daniel Sanford. But honestly, this is so dystopian. It is so disturbing to me, and we should all be deeply, deeply concerned that we now live in a world where the British Bashing Corporation is working with the judiciary to try and shut down honest reporting of Tommy Robinson court cases. Ezra Levant revealed what happened to our own Lauren the Insider.
And yesterday the judge ordered me to stop until I could furnish proof that I was a credentialed journalist back home in Canada. So today I gave him a letter signed by the president of the Independent Press Gallery in Canada and other material, and the judge looked at it and he said, okay, I'm going to recognize those credentials here. You can be just like the other fancy regime approved accredited journalists.
The propaganda puppets.
Yeah, and I thought, okay, I appreciate that because I do have that status, but I've never needed to show that before, and I've live tweeted from more than a dozen trials in the UK. So I sat with the cool kids But then there must have been, and the judge was fine with it, and I was sitting there, and it was helpful in only one way. I was in the courtroom, not behind glass, so it was so much easier to hear.
Yeah.
Sort of hard to hear in the public gallery. But then when the judge left, the clerks came up to me and said, "You got to get out of here, how dare you?" I said, "What are you talking about? The judge just said I could sit with the mean girls, and the judge just saw me." They said, "No, you got to go."
Yeah.
I said, "I'll go if the judge says so, but I'm not going because you say so. I want to hear the judge." Like, seriously, the judge had just said it was kosher for me to sit there. Well, and I was going to hold my ground in my polite way.
Yeah, you were very polite
Well,
the
thank
whole
you.
time.
And then a security guard came in, though, sort of a mall cop, not a real cop, and started putting hands on me. And listen, he weighs like 60% of what I weigh. I don't think he could have pulled me out of there, but I didn't want this to spiral out of control. I didn't want it to get physical. I didn't want real cops to be called. I was extremely disappointed that the court staff were defying the judge's clear permission, but I wasn't going to make a big fuss about it, so I yielded, and I went and sat back with the gallery. It was sort of gross, but it's a microcosm about what's happening in the UK, which is that fake credentialism is being used to silence other voices.
It absolutely is, and it is chilling. Now, following Ben Habib of Advance UK's decision to speak out in support of Tommy ahead of the trial, UKIP leader Nick Tanconi went one step further today by actually turning up at court. And he revealed to our Lauren that Tommy is being persecuted by a designated campaign of left-wing fascism to, he says, exhaust the patriots.
So we were hoping to come out to a verdict, but oh no, 4th of November, that is when we will get the verdict. What do you make of this?
Certainly. So I think that Tommy is being persecuted. I think he's been earmarked by the state. I think he is being persecuted, but it's not just him, it's his family, it's his supporters. There seems to be a designated campaign to exhaust the patriots. I think the war we're in, as I often say we are at war, is a war of attrition. It's slow and steady under what I have often described as left-wing fascism in Britain. So let's look at examples such as two-tier policing, two-tier justice, two-tier governance. Let's look at the fact that why on earth is Tommy being put in this position? Why did I wake up this morning, no one knows about this yet, to the fact that an associate of mine last summer during the unrest, he's pled not guilty to a charge. Young man, he's got lots of dependents, of good character, and he's being sentenced today and potentially is going to prison for years. Early 30s, good character, no violence, and he's being sentenced today. Now, I don't know that verdict yet, but let's look at some of the cases where people who should never have been allowed in Britain have received incredibly lenient sentences based on rape, murder, and those who have malintent and subversive intent on our country, like the communists and the Marxists, for example. We are living in two-tier Britain, two-tier policing, two-tier justice and two-tier governance. And I say, what happens when they come for you or myself? We should all stand together, all stand with Tommy, because Tommy's a symbol of what's coming for all of us.
Yeah.
If you dare speak out against the establishment, that's tyranny.
Yeah.
That's tyranny. Don't we know it? This show trial is a farce. Every single media organisation and journalist should be calling it out, but they're not, so you can't trust them. Now, the Superstar panel. And it is brilliant to have with us today Hanna Kirkpatrick of Hanna's World, the aforementioned Lunn, Farrow of The Insider on YouTube, and Howard Cox of Fair Fuel UK and Advance UK. Now, Howard, you have been in court for the past 2 days. You have seen it all. What's your verdict?
Well, that opening scenes of what you presented, I don't think I can better what you've said. I've seen everything. Yes, I saw the whole thing going on. I saw the Ezra incident, but most importantly, my mouth nearly hit the floor when I listened to the actual evidence given by the police. I listened to those three policemen. They were saying things I don't remember, I don't know. They missed out things on their evidence, and absolutely did actually, in terms of the process, in terms of procedure, they were unlawful. They did not stick to the procedure, etc. And they used, and this is what gets me, the word far right and his notoriety, Tommy's notoriety in terms of being famous. He was stopped by something, and I think there are powers above that instructed this operation to take place. And I was sickened by this, and I was surrounded by loads and loads of people who were also sickened. And frankly, the police should be ashamed, but more importantly, the state should be ashamed of what they're doing to Tommy. They're persecuting Tommy again and again and again. And why he couldn't, with all the evidence there, you could actually have made a judgment today within an hour and saying he's not guilty. You are free to leave.
Tommy did weigh in outside court, Howard, on you and on the fact that in part you were effectively forced out of Reform UK because of your decision to support him. Watch this.
He put his neck on the line to stand up for me when he'd never met me as well. And then he lost his position within Reform and was kicked out of Reform for daring to stand up and say that some of the things I said were correct. So then I saw how he was treated, as I saw how many people were treated, and many people have showed me loyalty and stood by me when they've never even met me. So yeah, it was great to meet Howard. And that lady there just come over and said, I've just joined Advance as well. So it's good.
Now, Tommy did directly target Nigel Farage after attending court, Howard Cox, because you'll note that in that trigonometry interview, the Reform UK leader tried to use this spurious terrorism charge almost as a justification as to why your wing of Reform UK, which is now effectively Advance UK, was wrong. Having sat through the court case today, do you think Nigel Farage got this one wrong?
Massively wrong. Of course he has. And he should actually own up and come up, put his head above the parapet and say, I've got this wrong. He doesn't have to like, we've said this many times, doesn't just like Tommy whatsoever, but he sort of begrudgingly admits he's done some good things, etc. But I've known Nigel for 15 years. And I didn't expect him to treat me the way he treated me or Rupert Lowe or Ben Habib and many, many branch chairmen across loyal Reform people, branch chairmen who are leaving in droves. And it's interesting how their membership of Reform, which is said to be 240,000, well, where the hell did we get 40,000 paid members from? Most of them are ex-reformers. So we're in a situation now where he does, unfortunately, he's put himself into a position, he's saying things about tax now he's going back on from his manifesto. I cannot believe what's happened to Reform UK. And Reform UK, I mean, really should be the party that Advance is becoming. I'm afraid he will implode. I guarantee this time next year, Reform will be nothing.
Bold prediction. Lauren Lunn Farrow, you have been embedded with Tommy over the past 48 hours. He wanted a verdict. He wanted a verdict today because he was feeling confident. What this means, though, is that he is able to go on his state visit to Israel tomorrow, something that is very important to him. But at the same time, he still has this hanging over his head. Do you think this verdict was possibly delayed because they didn't want the optics of Tommy being able to go to Israel as a free man? The UK state got it wrong.
I think the minute I caught this morning, I knew we weren't going to get, the answer that we wanted today, because so much of the narrative is pictorial led. And so if Tommy comes out a free man being cleared, it's very hard for them to run that story without an image, and here we are. We turn up at court and there are 21 police. And the 21 police, and I appreciate that they were sent there and it wasn't their fault and the powers that be sent them, but they're all standing around chatting. I don't quite know what they were doing, and they were just hanging around. It was a spectacle and it was performative. And then inside the court, Dan, I was right behind all of the mainstream media. There was a glass partition that was had little bits so you could hear everyone, and they weren't sat transcribing what was going on. Oh no, they were sat looking at their analytics for the stories they had posted on Tommy, and I was sat very cleverly behind them looking over, because I thought, I want to, unlike you lot, that side of the wall, I like to do proper work and I go into things with an open mind. And from what I saw, all their Tommy stories were doing pretty well. And here we are, an attack on Tommy is an attack on people like me, people like you, and we are sick of it.
Big time. Yes, we are. Hanna, you obviously know Tommy well as well. I just want to read out a little bit about what he has said in regards to this trip to Israel, because this sounds very significant, Hanna. He says, a proud patriot coming tomorrow to stand with the Jewish state and deepen my understanding of the fight against jihad. Last night, I spoke with Amichai Chikul, Israel's minister for anti-Semitism. I'm grateful for his invitation and friendship. This will be a meaningful visit. He's doing a whole load, and he also will deliver his first public address in Israel too. He's thanked Elon Musk again for standing by me and covering my legal costs. I go to Israel as a guest of government leaders and as a proud friend of the Jewish people. This visit, he writes, is about truth, courage, unity, and patriotism. Now that I'm free, I'll fight louder and stronger than ever. A significant moment, Hanna, right, in the rehabilitation of Tommy Robinson, the state visit to Israel when the eyes of the world are on the country following the peace deal.
Absolutely. It's obviously been a massive week for Israel, for the world, and for them to roll out the red carpet for Tommy, especially given how he's treated in his own country, is just amazing. And he should be excited about it. And I know that he is. And just the people he's going to get to meet and the interactions he's going to get to have. And obviously in that tweet that he did write earlier, just bringing it back to his message for the last 15 years is against radical Islam, essentially, as he's put it in this tweet, jihad, which has obviously plagued the world, but the Middle East, especially in Israel, which is hopefully coming to an end with this amazing, monumental ceasefire. But people just in this country, I think because of the media and their propaganda and their lies and the government's enabling of certain ideologies. Do we know why? There's many reasons, but it's just absolutely disgusting that we as British people, as it goes into this flag situation and the patriotism, and you can't be a patriot without being called a far-right extremist. All of this disgustingness is just allowed to prevail, and people like Tommy are pulled over and charged and put in court for terrorism, for driving someone's Bentley and taking cash to Spain because he's been debanked in the UK. That is where we're at. It is the biggest political hit job, the biggest political target, obviously, in this country at the moment. And I know it all seems doom and gloom and it all seems like everything is just terrible every single day, but it kind of means we're winning. It does. Because they're desperate, they're floundering, and you look at the lies of the mainstream media and the desperation in the court today by having to get Ezra. He's in, he's out, he's in, he's out. Can't have him in there telling the truth, too much truth. And the Channel 4 hit piece on citizen journalists, like, why do that? You're just drawing more attention to it, and I think alerting maybe just a few people that weren't aware of people like us and Ezra and Martin Gauci and people on Adam Brooks on the ground. The MSM's lost control of the narrative, and I think this is also proven by Donald Trump's campaign before the presidential election last year in America, because he went and circumvented the media. Obviously, he's got a massive distrust of the MSM, and he went on all the podcasts, all the the independent journalists, and they did it in a different way because people are consuming their news in a different way, and they don't trust the media. So any day that humiliates the MSM or the government is a pretty good day. And Tommy doesn't feel like it's good. Obviously, there's no verdict today. I don't think there's any jury, but there's no decision. But he's going to have a great time in Israel. He's going to have the red carpet rolled out for him. And there's no way they can charge him with this. And they just have to drag it out and try and, I don't know what, make some more money on their analytics between now and the 4th of November.
The total desperation to deride patriots as far-right extremists is continuing at pace. And obviously so much of it hangs on this idea that if you want to fly the Union Jack, if you want to fly the St. George's flag, then you are a racist. You are an extremist. And there's more and more evidence of the left sort of showing their true colours on this. From the Mercian, Salman Mirza, who has taken down Union flags and St. George's flags in the West Midlands, claims they make non-white people feel unwelcome. People have said it's reminiscent of the 60s, when the Ku Klux Klan burnt crosses outside houses. I'm the model of integration. You can't get more British than me. Well, you can, sir. Mr. Mirza works for a charity that provides immigration advice and is known for his pro-migrant position. And check this out. Despite his unease about Union flags and St. George's flags, Mr. Mirza said he was supportive of flying Palestine ones. No surprise there. Hard left Labour MP Rachel Maskell. She's saying the quiet bit out loud now in Parliament.
To perpetrate racism, intimidate communities, have beaten people up and hung a death threat on our city wall. What further support can government give my local authority to get those flags down, because even contractors are being intimidated?
The flag is something that we have to reclaim and reclaim it proudly. We know that in some communities they are being used to intimidate and divide. We're working with local authorities across the country to make sure that they have the support they need to make those judgment calls. But I come back to the fact that the flag is ours and we need to reclaim it, and we need to stand up against those that want to divide our communities across the country.
No one is trying to divide with the flag. This is Labour bullshit. Okay? The only divisive force in this country is coming from the left, is coming from Labour, because, by the way, they are seriously challenged now by the Green Party, which has risen to 13% in the polls under that tit hypnotist, Zach Palamsky. Now, Labour MP Jeevan Sander has been slammed across the Atlantic for his calls for Reform UK to take down the flag as well, with US Senator Ted Cruz saying, utterly tragic, a great nation with so many eager to surrender it entirely. And that is what he's trying to do. Watch this.
Flags painted on roundabouts. And that is just a bit weird. And you know, because you've seen it online and I see it in my inbox, that this does make people feel uneasy. And they ask, what message are these flags supposed to be sending? Now look, I'll take people at their words. People who say this is about national pride. I'm proud of my country too. And I'm proud of our flag. But I do understand why others feel that it's about excluding people. Why others feel that it's about saying who belongs here and who doesn't. We're one British people. We're proud of our country. We should be standing together underneath our flag, not some of us looking up with unease. That's not the British way. Standing together, not standing apart. That's what being British is about. Unity, decency, determination, having a pint, a cup of tea, supporting the English football team, and sometimes they win. That's what being British is about. And that's why today I'll be asking the Reform County Council to take down the flags from the lampposts.
Okay, here's the reality, which people like that far-left lunatic don't want to hear. Guess where the violence is coming from? In the United Kingdom. The left. The hard left. The Antifa-inspired left. And it's coming out in lots of ways. And this is really despicable, actually. A teenage councillor for Reform UK, who had been the subject of numerous BBC articles because he refused to fly the pride flag on a council building, has been physically attacked in the street. The attack happened on Friday. The BBC has so far not reported on it. And Zia Youssef, the Reform UK chairman, confirmed this story. Reform's council leader, George Finch, has been assaulted in the street. The assailant shouted fascist, racist, exactly the language used by the Prime Minister and the leader of the Green Party. They know exactly what they're doing. More detail on this from fellow reformer Lyndon Kemcaron, who said, I was appalled to get a message from George Finch on Saturday night describing how he had been physically attacked in the street by someone who was shouting and screaming in his face fascist and racist. I'm glad George has gone public, as people need to realise just how unwise Labour were in using their conference platform to repeatedly call Reform UK members racist and describe us as the enemy. Talk about irresponsible and inflammatory behaviour from the very people who are meant to be governing us. We're a legitimate political party just like they are. The only time they and their followers should attempt to beat us is at the ballot box, not in public. Stay strong, George, my friend. And of course, the beating of George Finch is just the start of the threats against Reform UK and politicians on the right. Nigel Farage in court today as this absolute nutter from Afghanistan, Fayez Khan, otherwise known as Madapassa, was jailed for 5 years because of those threats to kill the Reform UK leader. But Farage quite rightly points out that what this means is that in 2.5 years, he'll be on our streets, able to go for an asylum claim. Can you believe Madapassa in court today basically said, this is a disaster, I just want to go back to Afghanistan. My advice, send him back. Send him home now. We do not want him here. We do not want to be paying for him in prison. We certainly don't want him on the streets in 2.5 years putting forward a dodgy asylum claim. Here's what Farage said outside court.
That could possibly have been given 5 years, given the scale of the offence. And I thank Justice Stein, I thank the judge for saying what she said. But the fact is that in 18 months' time, this violent criminal, somebody with 17 convictions in Sweden, in 18 months' time, he will be in this country, living in a house of multiple occupancy or a hotel. He'll be free to walk the streets whilst his asylum claim is being judged. And the only reason we know about this guy is because somebody sent it to me on TikTok. And it makes me wonder, how many other Madapassas are there now in this country? Or will there be as the boats continue to cross the channel? So I'm pleased with the judgment, but deeply, deeply concerned that this guy will be out free in 18 months. A strange twist at the end, when he was after the sentence, he was speaking from the dock, trying to be heard, making it perfectly clear that he'd rather go back to Afghanistan. Now, in Germany, there are plane loads of people going back to Afghanistan. I wonder if in 18 months' time, the only thing that stops him being on our streets is we have some kind of deal with Afghanistan. I doubt it, but at least it's a possibility, and the Germans have shown us what they can do. So I've got mixed feelings. It was right to bring this case. I'm happy with the sentence. I'm happy with the win. But I repeat, in 18 months' time, this violent criminal will be free on our streets. Thank you.
To my superstar panel now, Hanna's World, Lauren the Insider, and Howard Cox, formerly of Reform UK. And look, Howard, what I think is so shocking is you've got the left talking about the fact that, oh, you know, these flags are making non-white people feel like in some way under threat. And actually, where is the real violence coming from, Howard Cox? From the left. From the left, because there's a death threat against Nigel Farage. But actually, George Finch, who's become a high-profile figure within Reform UK, isn't he something like 18 years old? But, you know, he's become a bit of a star of Reform UK. Literally being physically beaten up on the streets, Howard. It's happening. It's happening. The mainstream media are completely ignoring it. Just imagine if this were a left-wing councillor from a party who had been branded as an enemy of the state by Reform UK.
Well, Dan, you hit the nail on the head. What got me was the minister at the dispatch box said that we want to reclaim our flag. It's not her flag to reclaim. It's our flag. It's the British voters. It's the British patriots. It's our flag. I'm 70 years of age, and I've never done this before. But in the last 3 months, I've actually hung out St George's flag and a Union flag outside the front of my house, and I'm getting applause from people and people tooting going past my house They're chuffed that I'm actually showing our patriotism. The only one person did walk past and said, I'm a bit embarrassed by the St George's flag. It looks a bit, they didn't say Ku Klux Klan, but they did say it's a bit racist, isn't it? So there are people embedded in our country being lectured and being educated that the fact that being a patriot is something wrong. And George Finch, I feel terribly. I think his girlfriend was attacked as well with him. No one can condone that. And Nigel was right to take that man to court. And I'm glad he's got what he's got. But I'm afraid he'll be out in 2.5, 18 months is what Nigel said at the end there. And, he'll be walking free on the street. And that guy will be absolutely, probably indoctrinated in prison with yet more reasons to be violent. And that's the thing that we worry about. And I worry about my family. I'm sure we all do here on this panel here. I'm a big fan of Hannah's particular stuff she does. And I've written to her to that extent about that. But reclaiming the flag is what the minister said. And I think that is so patronising. I cannot believe how wrong they are.
I know, it's so funny, actually. I know that minister. So she's Miata Fanbula, and she used to be a regular on my Talk TV show, and she appeared on my GB News show once, and I was a little bit feisty back then, and after the appearance she said, I won't be doing that again, Dan. And I thought, oh God, we've got another one. And of course now she's a bloody Labour minister, Hannah. But the point is so true, isn't it? It's like, we don't have to reclaim anything. The flag is ours. We're proud of it. And if anyone, I don't care what colour you are, but if anyone who has immigrated to this country feels offended or threatened by our flag, then I'm sorry, piss off. Seriously. You embrace our flag because you have decided to make our country your own. Hannah.
Thank you. I couldn't agree more. Sorry, I didn't want to jump in and assume. Sorry, I've not heard one person of colour in my interactions in my daily life or even online, because I do look out for this kind of thing, say that the flag makes them feel uncomfortable. Do you not notice how it's always just some champagne socialists, usually with a nose ring and rainbow coloured hair, that are telling you that it's offensive to people of colour? Also, if you think about it, if you actually notice as well, there's not really ever any people of colour in stand up to racism protests or hate not hope, as I call them, either. But we'll move on from that one. And I just want to say, how do they think we feel generally seeing the Palestine flag every single where, on the streets, everywhere you go, on our lampposts? Right now, to me, Hamas is a terrorist organisation. So to me, the Pali flag, as I call it, it's just one step away from the ISIS flag in my mind. When I see it, it makes me feel similar things about similar groups of people. I'm not saying everybody that flies it is like that, but it just makes me feel a little bit of dread inside. And why is that happening in this country? And why is that celebrated? And I'm a racist because I've got the Union flag hanging out the window.
Well, I'm
right
sorry.
now.
That isn't our flag, and I don't want to see it. I'm more than happy to say it. I do not want to see that Palestinian flag hanging from the streets of the United Kingdom. I am done. And actually, I've been done with it for some time, because we know that that flag is nothing about Palestine. It represents an absolute hatred of our country, and it represents a plan for a takeover. And so I don't want to see it. But Lauren Lunn Farrow, it's quite astonishing, isn't it, when you think today is Charlie Kirk's birthday. Charlie Kirk would have turned 32 today. And the left have not learned any lessons. Lauren, they have not learned any lessons, because indeed, since the assassination, the political assassination of Charlie Kirk, what's happened with the British left, they have ramped up the rhetoric, Lauren. They've taken the rhetoric up a notch. It's disgusting. And now we see an actual attack on a Reform UK senior figure.
It's really dangerous, because they are weaponizing, they are distorting. And we've seen Charlie Kirk, lose his life. But I've had death threats across social media. I have people constantly saying, you need to be careful because you're going against the narrative. What kind of world is this where our political beliefs are being distorted and weaponized, and we are being made out to be something that is so far away from what we are? You know, when they say reclaim the flag, what are they on about? And also, I did some research and I've got a figure here, okay? So Keir Starmer seems to have a real issue with people that love the flag. He has told us what it seems to represent. No idea where he's got it from. Probably, what's the word, Dan? It's been a long day. Propaganda manual. That's it. And so today I was on my way back from court with Tommy, and I saw a London tourist shop full of, you know, tourist hat, which I kind of love. And I thought, okay, so the flag, is that divisive? Oh, no, course it's not, because that generates £106 billion a year and it leads to 2.6 million jobs. So it's fine for the powers that be to clearly cherry pick when the flag is approved and when it becomes a problem. And I am very proud of my right-wing views. I will not be shamed into not standing by them. And I am more than happy for other people to hold other views, because otherwise it would be a dictatorship. But yet again, we are seeing very, very dangerous rhetorics coming out from government and from the MSM. And it's, you know, more people will end up losing their life. And this is because of the dangers that the left pose. They are incredibly dangerous people when they are extreme.
Breaking today, I can reveal that Slippery Starmer is one of the leaders who Donald Trump admitted to disliking. This coming from top MAGA sources who insist that despite the very public love-ins in the past, the Donald has woken up to the threat posed by Slippery Starmer on a whole load of issues, specifically immigration and free speech. And the fact that he decided to humiliate him in front of the world yesterday in one of the most mortifying political viral clips I have ever seen was no coincidence. So let me take you through the story. First, let's watch what happened on stage.
Where's United Kingdom? Where's our friend? Come here. Is everything going good?
Very good.
It's very nice that you're here. These people all came in like 20-minute notice, and I think it's fantastic. And we have so many others, and just so many others. And
Starmer's face, he knows the game is up. It is only a matter of time before Trump turns publicly. Then listen to what Trump had to say about those leaders in the room who he secretly dislikes.
New York, I met with many of the people in this room, and it all just started coming together. I've known so many of you for so long. You're friends of mine. You're great people. I have a couple I don't like in particular, but I won't tell you who. I have actually a few of them I don't like at all, but you'll never find out who they are. Well, maybe you will, come to think of it.
Now, look at Starmer's body language at that moment. Did you see him shuffling, his face almost going white? Because he knows that he's blown it with Trump. He's blown it with Trump because of the recognition of the Palestinian state. He's blown it with Trump over issues like free speech involving US tech giants. And my sources within the Trump administration say that Trump is wide awake to the nefarious nature of Starmer's politics and what he is doing to this country and his increasingly dire popularity ratings. Remember, that really matters to Trump too. And it's fascinating, actually. What I want to do now is just show you Trump's interactions very quickly. I mean, they're funny, by the way, as well, so you'll enjoy them. With the Canadian PM, Mark Carney, Meloni of Italy, and Macron of France, because there's genuine affection, which there wasn't with Starmer. Watch.
You going back?
No, I'll go back. I'm glad you upgraded me to president.
Oh, did I say? Great stuff.
It's good. I started.
We said in 6 minutes ago. Great stuff. We have a young woman who's, I'm not allowed to say it because usually it's the end of your political career if you say it. She's a beautiful young woman. Now, if you use the word beautiful in the United States about a woman, that's the end of your political career, but I'll take my chances. Where is she? There she is. You don't mind being called beautiful, right? Because you are. Thank you very much for coming. We appreciate it. She wanted to be here, and she's incredible, and they really respect her in Italy. She's a very successful politician.
A coat and tie. It's usually a flak jacket and a helmet. So, an interesting change. As we see the president there with the French President Macron in Sharm el-Sheikh, the leaders of some 35 countries, according to the president, gathering there for a peace summit. Now, there is a bro shake. If ever I've slipped, we won't let go. Okay, you let go. No, I'm going to let go. All right, there we go. As they assemble for the class photo there, let's bring in Martha McCall.
But you could see there was a sense of genuine affection, which there absolutely isn't with Starmer. And Starmer looked uncomfortable. He was hating life. He doesn't believe in Trump. He hates Trump. He even hated Trump's previous peace deal back in 2020. He posted about it. As Glenn Greenwald posted, imagine going from the world's most powerful empire to whatever this is in just a few decades. The way Sir Keir happily and eagerly jumps up when called, then slinks back once quickly dismissed, all by someone who doesn't know his name. It's mortifying. And of course, I hate talking down the United Kingdom. But when we have a leader like this, when we have someone who hates Britain like this, when we have someone who hates the United States of America like Starmer does, this is going to happen. It did lead, though, to one of the best clips I've seen on British radio for a long time. Watch this from Jeremy Kyle.
We covered, and I just want to say that that's a big country, a powerful country. It does unbelievably well, and it's great to have you. Iraq, we have Iraq.
We're behind Iraq.
With lots of oil. They have so much oil, they don't know what to do with it. That's a big problem when you have so much, you have no idea what to do with it.
It's alphabetical.
So thank you very much for.
But I don't think he knows the alphabet.
Italy.
Oh, Italy.
We have a woman, a young woman who's.
Oh, here we go.
I'm not allowed to say it because usually it's the end of your political career if you say it. She's a beautiful young woman. Now, if you use the word beautiful in the United States about a woman, that's the end of your political career. But I'll take my chances. Where is she? There she
She's
is.
behind you.
You don't mind being called beautiful, right? Because you are. Thank you very much.
You're very beautiful, you are.
Appreciate it. She wanted to be here, and she's incredible. And they
boring
really
his eyes
respect
into
her
Trump.
in Italy. She's a very successful politician. We have Norway. Oh, Norway. Oh, yeah, Norway. What happened, Norway? What happened?
Look at Starmer. Oh,
where's Norway? Where is he? We have Johnny.
Oh, Johnny from Norway. He's doing well.
Where's Norway? I don't think he wants to stand. Oh, he's back there. Well, we have Norway. Oman. Again. We have Paraguay.
Portugal next.
We have really fantastic representative from Saudi Arabia. Thank you very much. I'll tell you what, and this time we'll get you the best seat. He always gets the best seat. He deserves the best seat. But what a great place it is. Spain.
Oh, Spain.
Where's Spain?
It's just next to Portugal, mate.
Are you guys working on him with respect to the GDP? We'll get close. We'll get close. But fantastic job you're doing. And UAE.
Oh, UAE.
Which is great.
We're next.
United Kingdom. Where's United Kingdom?
Behind you.
Where?
Oh, I'm here. Oh, there you are.
Very good.
Oh, Keir's coming forward.
All came in like 20-minute notice.
Oh, he's come up to speak and Trump sent him away.
Others, and just so many others. And it's such a compliment to what we're doing because what we've done is something very unique and very special. So it's perhaps the wealthiest and most powerful.
Right, cut him now. Cut that. Just stop Trump now. I had to wait for that, people.
I have to say, that was amazing commentary. I really enjoyed that. And of course, it was a historic day, but you won't be surprised to know the British Bashing Corporation treatment of Donald Trump was appalling. Do you realise that just as he was about to speak in the Knesset, Bernie Spofford was able to find the moment where the BBC decided to cut him off so he couldn't hear his speech? If you're watching the state broadcaster, watch.
Several great American patriots for their invaluable help in getting something done that almost everyone thought was absolutely
watching
impossible.
BBC News as the US President Donald Trump begins his address to the Israeli Parliament, the Knesset. It's a momentous day in the Middle East. All the Israeli hostages are home.
People that love the region. They love the Middle East. What?
They literally cut him off. I mean, it's a joke. No one was more despicable yesterday, though, than Christiane Amanpour. You know, Christiane Amanpour, who speaks in her English-Iranian accent, and you're meant to believe that this is a woman who has the absolute right to speak on international affairs. Well, yesterday, as Eli Yacobi pointed out, CNN's Christiane Amanpour said that the Israeli hostages were treated well. And he reminded her, here is Evitar David, completely emaciated as Hamas forces made him dig his own grave. So Amanpour did a hostage video apology to save her own skin. That's how despicable she is. She won't even stand by her disgusting views. But this was the moment that she broadcast that revolting pro-Hamas propaganda on CNN to a silent Caitlin Collins.
And I think for sure, people who start to talk to the hostages who've only just been released will find that it will take a long, long time for them to recover physically but also mentally. It's been a terrible, terrible 2 years for them, because not only are they there, you know, they're probably being treated better than the average Gazan because they are the pawns and the chips that Hamas had. Now Hamas has given up all its leverage, by the way, by giving them all up. So that is a victory for the Israelis.
You, Amanpour, are a despicable propagandist. Your credibility is now forever shot. And the fact that the CNN bosses made you go on and deliver this hostage video apology also shames them, because they should have sacked you on the spot. Watch this.
Now, earlier live on air, I spoke about what a day of real joy this is for Israeli families whose loved ones are finally being returned from 2 years of horrific Hamas captivity, and for civilians in Gaza who finally had a reprieve from 2 years of brutal and deadly war. I noted that for the hostages who are finally home, it'll take a long time for them to recover mentally and physically. But I regret also saying that they might have been treated better than many Gazans because Hamas used these hostages as pawns and bargaining chips. But that was insensitive and it was wrong. From speaking to many former hostages and their families, like everyone, I've been horrified at what Hamas has subjected them to over 2 long years. They've told me, as you've just heard, their stories of barely being able to breathe in the tunnels, not being allowed to cry, being starved and made to dig their own graves. And of course, today, some of the hostages are coming back in body bags.
Yeah, they are. So why the hell did you say that they were being treated about the same? Or even worse than Gazans? I mean, you couldn't make this up. To my superstar panel, Howard Cox, Hanna, Kirkpatrick, and Lunn, Farrow. Lauren, Trump hates Starmer. Starmer is one of those two leaders that he's talking about disliking in the room. He's played a very clever game at this point, but Starmer looked white. He looked panicked because he knows at some point the Donald's going to turn.
I mean, Dan, this was the clip I needed today after 2 days in court and seeing how corrupt the mainstream are. This has made me laugh so hard because it's just brilliant. I'm just going to have to cut and edit and just watch it over and over again when I'm having a bad day. No one likes Starmer. You know, Trump is a superstar and he can see what's going on in this country. He can't stand Starmer. Starmer has no social skills either. He doesn't know how to interact. He becomes like a rigid plank. And then he's like looking for social cues from other people and still can't get it. You know, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And Starmer is just such a plonker. I can't think of an eloquent
That is the
word to
perfect
describe
word for him. That is the perfect word for him. Unfortunately, though, he's a plonker who's destroying our country. But Hannah, I mean, it was such an astonishing moment because Trump reveals so much in his casual interactions. And there was obviously a lot of affection for Maloney, even a little bit for Mark Carney. Always has this weird sort of bromance going on with Macron, even though they're politically quite different. And my understanding is that he's worked out that not only is Starmer completely politically opposed to what he believes in on issues like free speech and immigration, but he's also a busted flush of a leader. And Trump's realizing that.
Trump's always known this. Now, I was asked specifically about this by all the MSM in Windsor when I went to Windsor when Trump was having a state visit. And a lot of them were asking me, oh, but don't you think that Trump really does like Starmer? I just laughed at them all. And I said, I'm going to answer the question. You can put out whatever you choose to put out. If you actually believe that, or if someone hasn't just asked you to say that on camera and get people to agree with you, then I don't know how to help you. But no, I've been friends with and followed analysts from around the world that have been very, very, very hot on Trump since 2015, 2016. And they're really, really good at explaining and they call it identifying comms, so like visual cues and non-verbal things that he does. So, and I told the MSN that Trump's very, very good at playing a game. Now, if you think about when he came over for a state visit and beforehand, he wanted that state visit because Trump does love a bit of pomp and ceremony, and people are going to say it's he likes to have his ego rubbed, and you know what, he deserves it in my opinion. So he had his state visit to do. So when he came over before and he played dumb when Starmer told him that we've had a very long history of free speech in this country, and we all went, are you all right, mate? He's lying to you. We were all absolutely incensed. Obviously, I knew Trump was playing dumb and doing what he does. But so I want to slide in here something that people must watch. If people haven't heard about this, it's been in my link in bio for years, right? But it's really, really good at showing this kind of thing that Trump does. And it's called Trump, the Takedown of the Cabal from A to Z by Bonfire Guy. And it's on Rumble. Just look for it on Rumble, you'll find it. But it's in my link in bio, super old website I haven't updated, but it's on there. Just have a look, and it shows him going around the world in 2017, the Middle East to Israel to the Vatican and other places, and it still happens to this day. So things like this with the Starmer snub on stage is a massive visual sign of a snub. And if you look at the documentary I've mentioned, it's showing the world capitulating to him. So you've got to go and watch that.
Howard Cox, what did you make of it?
Well, Lauren and Hannah could have said any better, but he deserved that. That's what the problem is. He deserved that. He brings it on himself. I don't know how thick his rhino skin is, but by now that he is a effing wanker. And that's what I mean.
Here.
The number of people that I speak to, Keir Starmer is a wanker. Starmer. I mean, you remember when Ben came out on the stage at the Unite the Kingdom rally, and suddenly the chants came up with Starmer is a guess what? And poor old Ben. I felt for Ben for a bit, but then he took it beautifully and ran with it. How I think, Dan, is very simple. This man has got to go. We're laughing about it, but he is wrecking this country.
100%.
Reputation overseas.
In every way. He's financially ruining us. He's ruining us with the daily invasion. He's ruining our reputation. He's destroying free speech. He's destroying the judiciary. I mean, look, I completely agree, Howard. We can laugh about what happened on stage, but this is a guy who is disgracing our country and making our country a laughing stock. And there are patriots here, millions of us, who do not want that. How do we fight back against an Islam attempt to rewrite UK history? Well, history revealed a popular account on TikTok is going viral for deciding to do just that. As the Grift report revealed, history revealed a historian on TikTok calls out the lies of Islamists who try to revise British history. Now, I think this is great because we've seen it everywhere, right? From the British Bashing Corporation to international publications. attempting to paint the UK as a country that was not created by the English, but rather by immigrants. And it simply isn't true. And truth matters, but also we've got to be proud of the fact that we built this country. So watch this clip from History Revealed that has started to go viral.
Country, Great Britain, was rebuilt by people who look just like me.
Wrong. Britain was built and rebuilt by, surprise, surprise, the British.
Because it's not like us Muslims, Pakistanis, Bengalis, Indians are mentioned anywhere in your history books. You wouldn't dare to teach your children that the train tracks, that the NHS, that the universities was built by bearded men and covered, modest, beautiful women.
We wouldn't dare teach them that because it isn't true. Built in the early 19th century and the first of its kind in the world, Britain's railways were a great triumph of British minds and muscle. Brilliant designers dreamed up engines, tracks and daring bridges, while skilled craftsmen forged iron rails and built locomotives. And armies of navvies, tough labourers armed with picks and shovels, carved through hills, laid lines and built the tunnels and viaducts. And in case you were wondering, the men in question looked like this, not Pakistanis and Bengalis. Sorry to tell you. And as for British women, whilst they didn't build it, they became the backbone of the railways during 2 world wars, whilst the men were off at the front. And it was their skill and determination that kept the trains rolling, transporting troops and essential supplies. And yes, they were beautiful and modest, but probably not in the way he was thinking of. And as for the bizarre claim that it wasn't British people who built British universities, England and Scotland's oldest institutions are centuries old. Places like Cambridge, Oxford and St Andrews were built before a single Indian ever set foot in.
Well done to History Revealed. You're not racist. You're not racist for stating historical fact. But of course, then you've got someone like Shoktak Adam, who comes out and says Islamophobia doesn't happen in a vacuum, prompting Dr. Philip Kiseli of the Brilliant New Culture Forum to respond, Islamophobia is a term coined by the Muslim Brotherhood, an organisation explicitly hostile to Britain and a prescribed terror group in many countries. 7/7, Manchester Arena, London Bridge attack, Pakistani rape gangs, cultural colonisations of towns like Oldham and Huddersfield and Rochdale, weekly hate marches, imams preaching Islamist supremacy, gaslighting MPs, promotion of first country marriage, virulent anti-Semitism, the hatred of Britain, the list goes on. I'm tired of having to think about it. We all are. The whole country is suffering from a severe case of Islam fatigue. It's like having to share a house with a violent and argumentative teenager who robs you blind and blames you for feeding him. We're sick of the bloody nonsense. Give it a rest or go somewhere else. And I'm sure a lot of people agree with Dr. Philip Kiseli, and a lot of people are starting to speak up now. Like, for example, what do you think about the fact that they're asking for £300,000 now to build a mosque, the first mosque in the Lake District? Watch this.
Imagine a place where the adhan has never been called. Here in the Lake District, we're about to build the first ever masjid in Cumbria. This particular infrastructure at the moment is open to the elements, and we need to bring that in place before autumn kicks in. It is sealed, and then we're ready to start working on the inside. At the moment, the masjid urgently needs £300,000 to complete the watertight infrastructure that's required. We're asking you, as brothers and sisters, that Allah has blessed, alhamdulillah, to each donate £300. What is that £300 worth? It is worth a palace in Jannah. As the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, that anybody who builds a masjid, even if it's the size of a bird's nest, Allah will build for them the likeness of it in Jannah, a house, a palace, alhamdulillah. This is an amazing sadaqah jariyah for yourself or your loved ones, alhamdulillah. And in years to come, I'm sure that you will come by Cumbria and you'll be able to come and pray yourself in this beautiful masjid.
To my superstar panel, Howard Cox of Fair Fuel UK and Advance UK, Lunn Farrow of The Insider on YouTube, and Hanna Kirkpatrick of Hanna's World. So Hanna, look, thank God we finally have some anti-woke historians who are just saying, okay, we're going to tell the truth here, that this is just a myth, that this is just a myth. But of course, so quickly, if you, for example, think, well, is it right that, you know, we're going to have this mosque in the Lake District, people do use that Islamophobia term. What do you make of it all?
Just what we need at this time, with the culture, with the climate, with the temperature, how it is. Another story about a mosque, somewhere where you wouldn't have expected one to be. I'm not going to get into banning certain, religions, places of. It's not really what I'm about, but it's just every day there's something else to try and push us over the edge, I think, and almost to goad what they believe we are into some kind of reaction which they're not going to get. I mean, shown by the mosque that was attacked, what, last week, the week before? Found out that it was done by a Muslim. But obviously that's not the story they wanted to come out of that one either. And it's just story after story after story, I feel, to just overload us with Islam and tolerance, and anything other than that is just far right racist extremist. And I must say, like, things like this, like, it's amazing how quickly some people forget that Britain did exist before TikTok and before influencers and before hashtags. And you can't just rewrite history to suit your narrative, as much as this government would love to make that true. And they're really, really trying, aren't they? But it's just not possible. And it's not racist to say that Britain built Britain. And it's also not racist to say you probably don't really love the idea of having another mosque amongst the beautiful hills of the Cotswolds or wherever it was.
Yeah, Lauren Lunn, Farrow, I mean, it is an extraordinary thing, isn't it, that history is now considered just too upsetting to many in the mainstream media that indeed they have to change it. Which they have to literally, I mean, we're literally at the point now where the woke are rewriting history. Literally.
This is the ultimate insanity, that anyone could be offended by a TikTok that is stating facts. And, you know, I'm a Christian, okay? I don't want to eat halal meat. I do not support more and more mosques being built because I am a Christian. So whilst, yes, other religions, you know, I understand they exist and I don't believe everyone needs to be a Christian, I also look at the data, and I look at Tower Hamlets where there are 50 mosques. I look at the data where the Jewish population in Tower Hamlets are marginalized and have a council that advertise themselves as a Muslim council for Muslim people. And so I sit here with a critical mind thinking, okay, it starts with one mosque, but where does it go? And I will not be billed as racist for having those thoughts as a Christian woman.
How do you feel about all of this, Howard Cox?
Well, it's very simple. I feel physically sick by the whole aspect of we're being invaded. And one of the things that I find surprising in the Lake District, they've obviously started building, which means they were given planning permission to build it, and they've run out of money. I mean, surely the planners and the council, the authorities up there said, yes, you can build this, even though I disagree with it, but you must be able to afford to, actually to finish it. And I'm staggered by what I just heard, that he's asking £300 from people. How dare he ask that? I mean, I'm sorry, like you with the flag, if you don't like our flag and culture and our Christian faith, please get out of our country.
Yeah, and by the way, if you give all of this money to the mosque, you know, it's all going to be returned to you up there, you know, just like, just
what
like,
a great
what is it? How
business model.
many virgins, you know, how many virgins if you're a suicide bomber? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a Christian too, and I do not believe in Allah.
Okay. Very, very worrying stuff, but at least we've got some honest history coming, and we've got three very honest people on our superstar panel. Always love having you. Howard Cox of Advance UK and Fair Fuel UK. Howard, so great to have you. Lauren Lunn, Farrow of the Insider YouTube channel, who has just done the most incredible work for us over the past 2 days for the Tommy Robinson trial. And of course, we'll be back, won't we, Lauren, on the 4th of November, I think at 10 a.m. The verdict is going to be announced. And of course, Hanna Kirkpatrick, who is Hannah's World, the online sensation. Thank you so much to the three of you. We're going to reveal today's greatest Britain and Union jackass in just one moment, so don't go anywhere. But first, lots of feedback coming in from you. Emma Coots, 3159. She's not happy with Nigel when it comes to Tommy. She says, Farad, shut up. You're also a very small man, saying the most offhand things about Tommy, who is twice the man you are. Range Over 63 says, Sanford, this is referring to Daniel Sanford of the BBC, is a disgrace. When you beat the grass, out come the snakes. Timo UK, he's going to comment on Nick Tenconi, actually, who did show up at the trial today. I think Tenconi should focus more on Turning Point UK and work alongside Advance UK as Tommy does with UTK. I'd love to see them come together, actually. Steffi8110 says the disgusting persecution of Tommy is a national disgrace. Solarian Unlimited says, I'd love to see Tommy Robinson and Donald Trump on the same podium. I'd be willing to bet Tommy Robinson would not see Donald Trump's back the way our glorious leader was. That's in reference to Keir Starmer being totally humiliated by Trump. And they add, the media full stop should not have any agenda other than truthfully delivering reports of the news. And you know, I couldn't agree anymore, but I've been calling out the mainstream media for years because that is not what they do. That is not what they do, and I don't think it's what they'll ever do again. A reminder of your Union Jackass nominees today. Sadiq Khan, nominated by It's Only Me 44 for insisting the pro-Palestine slogan from the river to the sea is not inherently anti-Semitic. Slippery Starmer, nominated by Abby Ghost for showing up in the Middle East when he was not a good or even bit player in this process and actually rewarded the terrorists. And Bridget Phillipson, nominated by John Quilliam for claiming the UK government had anything at all to do with peace in Gaza. And your results are in. In third position with 6% of the vote, Bridget Phillipson. The runner-up with 14% of the vote, Sadiq Khan. But your overwhelming Union Jackass today, the worst Briton in the world, is Slippery Starmer with 81% of the vote. It's an honorary greatest Briton today. History Nerd 89 says Donald Trump for his peace deal and securing the hostages' release. And I think that's impossible to argue with. Coming up in the Uncancelled After Show on Substack, the MSM trumpeting Meghan Markle 3.0 after her facelift and decision to beg Balenciaga for an invite. But in reality, she's regressed to being a Soho House girl again after calling the Paps for her meeting with Ed Sheeran. And cringeworthy Instagram post, our royal mastermind, Angela Levin. She is standing by over on Substack with all of the royal news. You can subscribe at www.outspoken.live. I'd also love you to sign up for our podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, you can subscribe completely for free on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We're on a video podcast now on Spotify, so just search for Dan Wootton Outspoken and please do rate and review. We'll be back with you live tomorrow, 5 p.m. UK time, midday Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Hit subscribe right now on YouTube and Rumble, and most importantly, I promise to keep fighting for you.